Alexandra McQueenie. This is my final speech for Speech 100. Yay! Unfortunately, I was unable to set up an audience, but I have a few markers here that I will occasionally glance to during my speech. Yeah, so here we go. We all love a good psychological thriller, don't we? There's just something about watching another person completely fall into the depths of insanity that makes us feel so much better about who we are right now. But as a college student who recently finished taking Psychology 100, I can tell you that our indulgences come at a terrible price. When people grow up watching mentally ill characters act in insane and, well, crazy ways, they tend to not seek help when something actually goes wrong. This is either because they don't realize that it's actually wrong because it's nothing like how the characters on TV were portrayed, or because they don't want to risk the exposure of the stigmatization. Many well-acclaimed movies perpetrate the stereotype of the violent, mentally insane criminal with no regard for how it's going to affect those who deal with it on a day-to-day basis. The acceptance of these films causes filmmakers to make even more films depicting the same thing, and they do so either out of greed or misinformation. However, in order to put an end to this cycle, we need to inform our filmmakers and stop supporting films that don't portray mental illnesses accurately, because all mental illnesses should be portrayed with accuracy and respect in the media, for the sake of those who suffer with them. Now, like I said before, right? Those who suffer with mental illnesses are often portrayed as crazy or violent, right? And I'm not just like pulling these things out of thin air, okay? An excellent example of this is the psychological thriller Split, right? It's a movie about a violent criminal with dissociative identity disorder. And now, that's like okay, right? But the dissociative identity disorder is the thing that his violence is connected to. That's what the film describes. A blog put on by Pennsylvania State University says that the thriller Split was successful in regards to the revenue that it generated because its framework is built upon the mental illness stigmatization pertinent in our society today. It plays on the common belief that people with mental illnesses are dangerous and even threatening, consequently perpetuating the stigma. The article was last accessed on May 20th. So, those who suffer with mental illnesses are also typically inaccurately portrayed in movies and TV shows. An excellent classic example of this is the thriller Psycho. We all know about it, right? Made in the 60s, showed a main character which had split personality disorder, which, let me tell you, it isn't a real thing. But it most closely resembles dissociative identity disorder. I would say DID sometimes. And RTOR actually perfectly captures, it quotes, this ending monologue, which literally states, "When the mind houses two personalities, there is always a battle. In Norman's case, the battle is over and the dominant personality is won." That is not what happens with people who suffer from dissociative identity disorder. The personalities all coexist at the same time in the person, just some rise to the surface in some occasions and others don't. There is no battle, there is no winning. That's all just fake and false and spreading this twisted sense of that disorder. The Joker is also an excellent example of this. The main character suffers from an onslaught of random symptoms taken from random diseases. For example, he struggles with feeling sad all the time or emotionless. That is a symptom of depression. He also suffers from not being able to make a whole lot of friends. That's antisocial personality disorder. And he also has the possibility of hallucinations, which are most commonly connected with schizophrenia, but he never fully fits into any of these three diseases categories. Also, the website Medscape brought up an excellent point that the protagonist, Arthur Fleck, suffers from a condition in which his affect and facial expressions are not appropriate to his emotions or the situation. Yeah, that's not an actual mental illness. People don't suffer from that sort of thing, and if they, yeah, it's not. So that's just completely made up and a false advertising of mental illness. So why would people do this, right? Like, why would they make movies that lie to people and make other people feel bad? Well, here's why. Some filmmakers are just misinformed about the true mental effects of mental illness and whether or not they exist. And who could blame them? My psychology textbook, called Psychology in Your Life, which was written by 2 college professors, says that many researchers remain skeptical about whether or not DID is a genuine psychological disorder, or even whether it exists at all. This can be found on page 850 if you want to find it. That's crazy, right? Like, even psychological professionals can't agree on whether or not these diseases even exist. So why not have artistic license with them and cut them up and put little pieces here and there in whatever character you want? I mean, they can't even agree on what they actually are. Another reason for this might also be movie companies. They might be motivated to produce these films because of their huge success, right? So Split, the first movie I mentioned, made $278.5 million in the box office. That's a lot. Psycho has also been hailed a classic by Common Sense Media reviewer Sarah Wunk, among others. And actor Joaquin Phoenix received an Oscar, I must admit, it was well deserved, for his portrayal of the lead character in The Joker during the 2019 Oscar Awards ceremony. So why wouldn't the filmmakers keep making these films, right? They're getting all of this acclamation. So in order to combat this, we must present current and accurate information on mental health to the general public, but especially to filmmakers. This will allow filmmakers the ability to use current information to base their characters off of. And another thing that anyone can do is to stop watching these inaccurate movies. By stopping support for them, we will decimate the market for them, and then the filmmakers will stop producing them. So this is so important to do because all mental illnesses should be depicted honestly and respectfully for the sake of those who suffer from them. The portrayal of mentally ill people as violent and crazy perpetrates this awful cycle surrounding this awful stigma surrounding those who are affected with real problems. This is all done because of a lack of education or a motivation from people who support these films. By increasing education and reducing financial support, we should be able to decrease the amount of inaccurate films. And if we are successful, we could make life a lot easier for those who are already suffering with the weight of dealing with a mental illness. So tell me, what's more important? Your sense of self-worth or the well-being of others? Thank you for your time.